Okay, welcome back, and here's another micro macro synoptic style topic. Examples are looking for topical issues where there's a clear micro and macro aspect to the question. And demography, population change, is certainly one of those. Aging population, either from the point of view of a developed country like the UK or Japan, or perhaps even an emerging country like China or India or Brazil. In terms of the UK, I'm sure you'll be familiar with it. There is an aging population, over 12 million people now of pensionable age. That will rise to over 16 million by 2041. Look at the data on population of pension age. Scheduled to be over 22% in 2041, and nearly 14% of people will be older than 75 in 2041, including yours truly. Again, thinking about the likely questions, micro, macro consequences, micro, macro effects of an aging population. And the key here is just to think about some effects, identify them in the exam, build some analysis, and then evaluate them. So micro effects, clearly an aging population potentially has the impact of changing the pattern of consumer demand. So it's going to affect demand for, prices of, and profits of particular goods and services. I'll give you some examples in a second or two. And that would affect businesses in key sectors. An aging population will have an impact on the housing market, especially if older people can live in their own homes independently for longer. That's going to reduce the kind of supply of new homes coming onto the market for people to buy. The labour market will also be affected in terms of micro effects. Or do we have to refashion and adjust our thinking about retirement, for example? What about businesses employing a lot more older workers? Well, where are we going to get the workers from if the demographic process continues and there's a rise in the dependency ratio? Macroeconomics, don't forget the big picture stuff. You can't go wrong if you think about those big macro objectives: growth, unemployment, inflation, trade. I've picked out three macro effects. First of all, the impact on welfare spending, in terms of the need to finance care, both NHS care and social care more widely. An aging population, in theory, also has an effect on future tax revenues going forward. Will an aging population dampen down the rate of growth of productivity and our trend growth, or are older people, more productive than we give them credit for? What about the impact on competitiveness if there's a big rise in the median age? These are all big macro effects you could develop. The pattern of spending is quite a key one. If you get a question on the aging population, obviously you're writing as younger economists. But for example, you'd expect to see an increase in demand for DIY products, an increase in the demand for experience holidays, including cruises and weekend breaks. Certainly a significant increase in demand for nutritional products and also for sheltered housing. So lots of opportunity here for diagrams to show, for example, the impact on demand for businesses providing nutrition products, for example, pharmaceutical products, etc. Lots of potential here for some micro analysis. And on the macro side, this chart, if there was one chart to show the impact of an aging population, this is the one that I would use. What it shows is that the spending, government spending per head and tax revenues per head at different ages, from 0, from birth, all the way through to 100. And you can see that most of the spending in people's lives per head happens in the early parts of your life, in early childhood, infancy, and then again beyond the age of 65. It spikes obviously upwards as you get older. Tax revenues, on the other hand, peak in people's mid-40s, early 50s, when people are maximising their earnings power. Now, the rise in the elderly population, particularly if not matched by health improvements, that's going to place much greater pressure on government finances, because there's a relatively smaller working age population paying their taxes, and that tax revenue has to support increased government spending on health, social care and pensions. So some quite big macroeconomic effects to think about. So there we go. An aging population is just, again, one of those synoptic style topics. They could give you some data on population dynamics in different countries and get you to think about, evaluate some of the micro and macro economic effects.